Hello, my name is Cesar Carreño. I am the head of climate data for ICLEI Local Governments for Sustainability. It is my pleasure to moderate this session for Race to Zero first year anniversary, which has gathered a group of climate actors working in the subnational space, such as political leaders and non-governmental organizations, which support local and subnational governments in their pathway towards a 1.5-degree goal as recommended in the Paris Agreement. The input scenario for 1.5 degrees is comprised of various scenarios, providing us with an insight into how emissions reductions could be achieved under a variety of socioeconomic and political conditions, with at least 50% probability of limiting warming in 2500 by only 1.5 degrees. ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, is a global network working with more than 2,500 local and regional governments committed to sustainable urban development. Active in over 125 countries, influences sustainability policy and drive local action for low emissions, nature-based, equitable, resilient, and circular development. We deliver visionary leadership and provide support to accelerate action on sustainable development, leading by example, sharing our knowledge openly, and speak with a united front. ICLEI is a key implementing partner for Race to Zero and for its cities dedicated branch, Cities Race to Zero. As such, we are committed to engage and mobilize subnational governments to reach net zero targets as soon as possible and by mid-century at the latest. In line with global efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, it is our mission to support, engage, and inspire local leaders to set an interim target to be achieved in the next decade, which reflects maximum effort towards or beyond a fair share of 50% global reduction of CO2 by 2030, as identified in the IPCC special report. We have developed our own climate neutrality framework to support local governments and subnational governments in this effort. To reach this goal, nonetheless, several pillars need to be addressed, one of them being more ambitious and inspired national targets aligned with 1.5 degrees scenarios, a strong urban perspective in climate science and policy, NDCs that need to account the emissions reduction potential of urban areas, a full reorientation towards multi-level climate governance in every country, a rapid all-hands-on-deck transition to achieve climate neutrality and fully decarbonized economy, and of course, more robust climate investment to meet local demand. Please join us in this session in which local leaders and NGO representatives will share their experiences and contributions throughout these past 12 months, reflecting on how Race to Zero has helped them to showcase their best practice case scenario and their ambition as a subnational government. Welcome.
Bogotá is committed in the city's Race to Zero. With support from organizations such as C40, we have developed and updated our climate action plan with specific actions, sectors, and investments that will allow us to reach our ambitious climate goals, including, of course, reducing our emissions by 50% in 2030 and being a carbon neutral city by 2050. This is, of course, possible thanks to the political commitment of leaders such as our mayor, Claudia Lopez, who understands that climate change and the climate emergency are our generational challenge. We have to be, as cities, as countries, truly honest and transparent about the way we're going to implement our climate agenda. Cities Race to Zero is a particularly important space as it gives cities, one of the most important spaces in which long-term decisions are made, the opportunity not only to commit, but to set their goals in a very strong and practical manner. Bogotá will continue to be ambitious with specific sectoral goals, including how we're going to go about our housing, nature-based solutions to provide a strong agenda for mitigation, and of course, a public transport agenda that is one of the most ambitious in the region, both thanks to the electrification of our public transport and also to the central role that we have given bicycles in our city for over 20 years that will now be even more important in terms of the climate emergency.
I am Marilia Melo, Secretary of Environment and Sustainable Development of Minas Gerais State. Minas Gerais State is located in the southeast region of Brazil. I am very happy in name of our Governor, Romeu Zema to celebrate with all you the 1-year anniversary of the Race to Zero campaign with a big announcement. In December of 2020, Minas Gerais became the first Brazilian state to sign a cooperation agreement with the British government on climate, environment, and energy transition, signaling the intention to prepare to increase its ambition on the way to COP26. Last week, the state of Minas Gerais became the first state in Latin America and Caribbean and the first state of a developing country to formally join Race to Zero. Like the other almost 30 regions around the world, we are committed to doing our part to halve global emissions by 2030 and to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, at least. We know that the challenge is great, especially for a state the size of Minas Gerais in a developing country. We are the 4th largest state in Brazil, the 3rd largest in GDP, and the 2nd largest in population, with more than 800 municipalities. Minas Gerais is approximately the same size of France. As I said, the challenge is not small, but we are committed to sustainable economic development and the carbon neutrality goal because we know this is the only way forward. It's not a path the state government can treat alone. It's a commitment possible only because we will work together with the main economic sectors of our states, with the civil society, and with the science. Literally, the leaders of the industry association and the agriculture sector signed with the governor this commitment. And it's not a new path for Minas Gerais, which has a long history of commitment on climate agenda. In recent years, Minas Gerais has been developing actions and projects aiming to decarbonization, and we are already reaping good results. We are currently Brazilian leaders in solar photovoltaic generation, being responsible for 18% of all installed power in Brazil, and recently we reached a historic record. The Minas Gerais state overcome the 1 gigawatt mark of installed power. Another important advance related to net zero is our commitment to attracting sustainable business with the announcement of an investment of 25 billion of reais in an electronic vehicle and battery factory. What changed now is our level of ambition. We understand the urgency of aligning our regions, economic development, with the challenge and opportunity of the future. Our development, employment, and income generation challenges are exacerbated by the current pandemic. With this commitment, we also signed that our vision for economic recovery will be healthy, resilient, and zero carbon. A part of Minas Gerais state, we know that national governments cannot fulfill the Paris promise alone. Cities and regions play a key role in achieving the ambition cycle. And for this reason, Minas Gerais is working in celebration with, in collaboration with, other actors in the Climate Action Alliance, ACA Brazil, demonstrating the individual and the collective ambition of a subnational movement in Brazil. The role of a subnational government, especially in Brazil, a continental country, is extremely important for advances related to climate change agenda. And I hope that, like Minas Gerais and Romeu Zema governor, other Brazilian states and governors, cities and actors can commit to carbon neutrality by 2050. In this race, we need everyone. And that's why we, the State of Estado de Minas Gerais, invite other cities and region and non-state actors to join us in the race to zero. Thoughts, copy 26.
Hello everyone. Climate change represents a worldwide challenge and risks also for the environment, for the economies, for our societies, for human health, for the impact of extreme weather events. And it's threatening natural resources and also triggering forced migration of populations. Impacts from climate change are already inevitable, but at the same time, climate change responses and solutions create economic opportunities and jobs and benefits through a sustainable energy and development. International efforts are necessary to ensure the protection of humankind and of our planet. It's the only one that we have. And to limit the increase in global average temperature to below 2 degrees. Governments at all levels need to act together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. The subnational governments like regions, like our region Emilia-Romagna, play a key role in accelerating climate action. It's because we can push our governments to do more, to go farther and to go faster. And we need to do it because we are responsible for laws and policies at the local and regional level that can and do make a difference for our climate. As Emilia-Romagna region, we have decided, in the middle of a dramatic pandemic, to sign, together with all the regional system in December 2020, with more than 55 regional stakeholders, including municipalities, universities, enterprise organizations, but also trade unions and representatives from NGOs and civil society, and for the very first time also some climate association, we signed a new Pact for Work and Climate, for relaunching, for rebuilding our region after this bad crisis by generating quality jobs, fighting inequalities, and accompanying Emilia-Romagna in its ecological transition, thereby helping to achieve also the objectives and the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This Pact for Work and Climate is set at 2030 as a time horizon to be able to act now, but in a view of complex challenges that we have to face together with an integrated approach. With this pact, we have 4 main challenges. One is the demographic challenge, which also requires to work on a universal welfare to support and to make sure that we leave no one behind. The second one is the climate emergency, on which we have committed with the whole region to reach the, let's say, the target of 100% renewable energies by 2035, and at the same time to achieve the goal of decarbonizing the region before 2050. The third challenge is the digital transformation, which also have to be inclusive. And the fourth challenge is how we address the increase of inequalities, social inequalities, economic inequalities, but also territorial inequalities and gender inequalities. So we have fixed these main goals, and in terms of the ecological transition, we have committed to work together with all the system on agriculture, on transport, on sustainable mobility, on how we address and prevent also the impact of extreme weather events which are creating a lot of damages to people, to houses, to economic sectors. We can do a lot in investing and accompanying the whole system with research investment. So we also have to do a big investment in competences, new competences that we need to, in a way, guide these transitions. So these objectives are ambitious. But we know that any framework that we put together doesn't have to be, let's say, top-down. It couldn't be efficient in reaching the objectives that we have shared if it's top-down. That's why we needed to make sure that everyone in its role in the society will contribute to these strategic objectives. And also we commit as Regione Emilia-Romagna to orient all our policies and also all the resources that are coming, the extraordinary resources from the European Union, the Next Generation EU, but also the new, let's say, structural funds, 21-27, and all the national and regional sources in this new direction. This is the commitment that we've taken all together. I think that committing to the race to zero is very important to show leadership and to show that we are conscious that we have to face these global challenges all together. It doesn't mean that we can only work at the global level to face them. It also needs the work of all national levels, subnational levels, and local levels to act together with society. We can be effective like this. So thanks everyone, and let's commit together to the race to zero.
Now I'd like to speak a little bit about our city in the Philippines called Quezon City. Despite the current situation concerning the coronavirus disease, Quezon City acknowledges the global climate crisis as one of the pressing issues that affects the development of highly vulnerable countries like the Philippines. We recognize that the impacts of the changing climate go beyond varying global temperatures, but more so, climate change also affects our food and power supply, water security, as well as the general health and well-being of our citizens. Together with leading cities around the world, Quezon City recognizes the need for a leadership that pursues climate resilience and carbon neutrality objectives, which are in line with the Paris Agreement and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We in Quezon City are now taking concrete actions towards climate change mitigation and adaptation. This year, our city has developed a more ambitious, enhanced local climate change action plan, which encapsulates our unyielding commitment to leading inclusive, ambitious, and evidence-based climate actions in the Philippines. We are also building resilience and forging ahead towards a green economic development while providing a livable and quality community for all. One example of our efforts is our urban agriculture program, which provides healthy and nutritious food to households in every community through 166 urban farms. Quezon City also established a sustainable food security task force to strengthen our urban agriculture initiatives. This comprehensive program delivers an array of benefits, including reduced greenhouse gas emissions through shortened distances in transporting agricultural produce, and energy conservation through the establishment of rooftops and vertical gardens. Most importantly, our agricultural programs divert food waste and other biodegradables from landfills to composting. Indeed, despite being a highly urbanized city, our agricultural programs greatly contribute to the green initiatives in the metro. During this pandemic, when transportation options became limited due to community quarantine restrictions, thousands of our residents relied on bicycles to get to and from their destinations. Recognizing this as an opportunity to promote clean air and a healthy lifestyle, we significantly expanded our bike lanes network from 55 kilometers to 93 kilometers in just its first phase alone. While building bike lanes has been in the pipeline even before the pandemic, the implementation of the program was hastened to meet the needs of the times. Nature-based solutions are also part of the city's response against climate change and its crippling impacts. Quezon City's Green, Open, Reclaimed Access or GORA project, a 6-kilometer pedestrian walkway that links mass transportation to the city's commercial districts, as well as the citywide Urban Biodiversity Sustainability Action Plan, promote activities that use natural assets, such as our beautiful canopy of trees, to reduce heat and address water resource management challenges. Since flooding is also one of our concerns in the city during the rainy season, we are studying the complementary deployment of water retention ponds in line with our drainage master plan that will mitigate the impacts of overflowing waterways. In the delivery of programs on climate change mitigation and adaptation, Quezon City promises to put the welfare and benefits of our people front and center. While we continue to respond to the pandemic, this is also an opportunity to reshape our collective future. This global pandemic showed us that when we act together and put decisive leadership into action, we can define the future that we want. This year must be the turning point for climate action. We will continue to hold the hands of the most vulnerable and collaborate closely with local communities and international partners in bringing about the sustainable development we want to attain.
It is an absolute honor to be speaking for you today. I am just so inspired to hear all that is going on in cities and regions across the world. Minas Gerais and Emilia Romagna recent announcements will hopefully prompt others to follow. One of the key things that my work on climate policy has made me realize is the critical importance of the ambition loop, one in which non-state action can facilitate national policies which themselves accelerate further ambition and action within and across sectors. But what also strikes me is the importance of anchoring this global message to the specific context of the local reality where these institutions operate, to show how this ambition can help realize domestic needs, such as cleaner and more affordable energy, less pollution, less waste, more accessible and cleaner water, more walkable and livable cities. Something to highlight from speakers is the imperative to talk to the needs of specific communities and economic sectors, to reflect on particular domestic circumstances and challenges. This talks to the role that local leaders have to play in helping other subnational and non-state institutions understand why committing to a 1.5 aligned trajectory is not only necessary, but also advantageous. Keeping local relevance while internationalizing the campaign is something Alliances for Climate Action is positioned and committed to contribute to. As you are probably aware, ACAs is a global network of national alliances of subnational and non-state actors that are dedicated to 1, driving 1.5 aligned climate action, 2, increasing public support for an inclusive transition to net zero and resilient economies, and 3, engaging and supporting national governments to enact science-aligned targets and enabling policies. These national alliances are present in key geographies, including Argentina, Brazil, Japan, Mexico, South Africa, US, and Vietnam, some of the representatives we just heard from. Countries that together represent 22% of the global emissions. It's why we're so excited to become a global accelerator for the Race to Zero, to help the campaign reach farther and deeper. In that context, some of the actions we're committed to undertake include amplifying campaign through local messengers and local languages, translating its power and value to diverse local contexts, encouraging a greater diversity of actors across constituencies and geographies, building a critical mass of net zero committed actors that can form the basis for collaboration across key economic sectors, sectors that are material to GDP and the emissions of their countries, such as transport, building, agriculture, and energy, including harder to abate subsectors. These alliances will also continue to accelerate the Race to Zero by standing ready to work with national governments on the implementation of needed enabling policies. We are truly grateful to the champions and the Race to Zero campaign for giving us this platform to elevate our common goals. And I want to express my profound respect to all cities and regions that are taking science-aligned climate action to achieve a healthier, fairer, and more resilient net zero world for all. Thank you so much.